Run right into the defender. The guy's going to grab you.
This meeting's order at 7:03 p.m. This is the regular session meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, February 5th, 2013. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Council President John Tomato.
Here.
Council President Pro Tem Linda Shortman. Here. Councilman Mark Tumplin.
Here.
Councilman Richard Delariva.
Here.
Councilman Michael Sondermeyer.
Here.
Councilman Ray Yasky.
Also with us this evening is our Deputy Clerk, Terry Sauer, and our from the firm Dorsey Samrow, Tracy Wang. Thank you for being here. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale. On January 2nd, 2013, the public notification date, time, and place of this official meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media and posted here at Borough Hall. As per State Fire Code, I am to acknowledge there are two emergency exits, the doors which you walked through when you entered, and an exit to my left. If an emergency was to arise, you would work orderly and exit the building. If anyone has questions on that fire code, please raise your hand at this time. What we're going to do is move right to our presentation. And we'll come back to early public comment after we do that. Yes, I will at one time. What I would do, I'd ask the governing body in a moment to join me off the dais as we present certificates. Before I do, I would just like to make note we have freeholder Pat Lepore with us this evening. Pat, if you raise your hand. Thank you for being here. As a freeholder, Pat does mobile office hours throughout the county, and he joined us this evening, this afternoon, to meet our residents. And to our football players, he's from West Patterson, so we won't hold that. But thank you, Pat, for being here. I'd ask you at this time the council to join me off the dais as we present to our football team, which I'll say a few words about in a moment. You guys will come down. Now, I know we may be missing a few players. We have wrestling going on and CYO basketball going on, so I thank everyone who's here with us, and we'll give the certificates to those who were unable to join us. But I'll start by saying, first, congratulations to our A-Squad BBYC football team. I've been around the youth football program. My daughter's 21, so it has to be 15 years or so. And I must say, this A-Squad team was the strongest team that I had ever seen on the field through our youth football program. At least 10 guys a game had to come for early weigh, and so I think the entire front line of both offense and defense were close to the weight limit, but physically in shape, and it showed on the strength that you guys produced on the field. So we start by congratulating you. We start by saying how proud each of you and your coaches make me, as the mayor of Bloomingdale, our governing body of Bloomingdale, how proud you make us of your sportsmanship, being student athletes, how you perform on and off the field. You also have made a bit of history. As I said, when we had the B Squad last year's Super Bowl team here, you are the first A Squad Super Bowl team of the new merger program of Bloomingdale Butler Youth Club. So that is certainly an additional honor that you will have for forevermore. So we thank you, and we're extremely proud of you. We will present certificates to each player and ask each councilperson to take a file. As we call your name, please come up, and we'll try to keep you all up here and then take a photo. Thank you. We'll start with Councilman Conklin, if you would. Gordon. Congratulations, Gordon. Hang to the side for now, and then we'll get a picture whenever we're Brandon Weibel. That's it.
Rival.
Hey, Brandon, congratulations.
Let's see. Randy Webb. Clap. Philip Moya.
I don't think Philip's here this evening.
Daniel Collins.
Now, before we begin, I should have, congratulations, Dan. I should have read the inscription on the certificate. Again, it proudly reads, Bloomingdale Borough Youth Club 2012 Bulldogs, in proud recognition of your teamwork, your good sportsmanship as a member of the Bloomingdale Borough Youth Club, recognizing your Super Bowl champion undefeated season A squad. Presented this 5th day of February 2013 by the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale. So for the record. Councilman.
Patrick Riordan.
Congratulations, Patrick.
Christopher Sacco.
Councilman Yazdi.
Sean Scott. Lance Shelby. Devon Smith.
There he is.
He's like, what?
Elias Petros.
Congratulations.
Matthew Kanak.
Not here.
Wade Kenny.
Pneumonia.
We'll mail his.
Matthew LaCicero. Derek Logo.
Evan Fear. Christian Ferraro.
Not here.
Sean Franson. I got it, yeah. Jake Greco. Yes. Christopher Greco. That was my last chance, because this is Ben Delray. I also know is not here. Yes.
Joshua Fain.
Wesley?
Corey Mack.
Yeah, Corey.
Austin Mickens. Lane Mon. Isaac Morales. Apollo Entice.
Joseph Posante. Alfred Batterby.
Not here. No.
No, it's Jake Fidel. Patrick Brady.
Yeah, Patrick.
Zaire Carney. Shane Conway.
Yeah, Shane.
Which one?
There's two of them.
There's two of them. It's something special. And Shane Conley again?
No, the other one's.
All right, Michael Warren. Johnny Vitone. William Verico.
Willie.
Joseph Turk. John Taggart.
Note the injuries, snowboarding, not football.
Robert Voley.
Robert Bowles. I do know we have a few of our coaches with us. I'd like to present our coaches as well. I'll state all their names for those who are not with us, but we'll start with Bob Wallowitz. So Bob. Joe Castiglia. Basket. Joe Natale. Ken Eisenhart. Kevin Monahan. Paul Williams. Steve Whitfors. Todd Barisso. And I know our head coach, Ron Schneider, was unable to be here as well, but we can have a big round of applause for our players and our coaches. Also, coaches and players, to continue tradition, I'll first say, again, congratulations and coaches. Thank you for your efforts, your volunteer efforts in teaching these young adults the game of football as well as sportsmanship. I'd also like to thank the board of directors for BBYC. Again, it's their dedication as well makes this such a successful program. So, boys, as we do when there is a Super Bowl champion, we have, you see here, 4 signs that will be placed at the entrance of Bloomingdale, and it will get top billing, showing your successes. So congratulations. I'd ask if all the boys can come here, coaches behind them, we'll put the signs and the trophy, and we can take some pictures. So if the boys can come here.
Totally right.
These are
They're attached.
they're attached so you
All right, guys, come over more.
The one was in front, then it's back.
Hold on. Place it up.
Put it right in front.
You want the rest of the signs?
Yeah, we'll put one in
Rich, you don't want to be in the picture? What's up with that?
Enough pictures.
Say cheesy. Cheesy. The really poor cheesy.
I'll use it. Thank you.
I got you. Hold on. Look at this camera. One more time.
Also, we got the flash work. Sorry. Oh, that's flash. Your son has your name.
All right, guys, again, congratulations. Thank you for coming. Signs to be by the end of the week, and one more round of applause. Okay, thank you, everyone. There's no need for early executive. This time I have no non-agenda items. So I need a motion to open early public comment.
So moved.
Go Sotomayor and Yasti. All in favor? Aye. Anyone wishing to speak? It's an agenda item, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, the motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 8B, public hearing on Passaic County Open Space and Farmland Preservation Trust Fund. The borough is seeking an application for $175,000 for the restoration of the Leisure Field. At our last meeting, we had a public hearing as well. But this time, we need a motion to open the public hearing on this application.
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to this application, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Just so the governing body, I had told you, I had reached out. The county does like to see support letters, and I received numerous support letters from adults and various youth groups, but I reached out to the schools, and the schools put a little project together and informed the kids the history of the Leisure, and many of them knew it already. But this is the file that I received the support letters from our schools for this application, which will accompany our application to the county. And when you have a moment, take a look at them. They're quite heartwarming.
The one you should have.
The funniest one is a picture of a little boy sitting on the bleacher. It's a really good drawing. There's a picture of a hole in the bleacher, and it says, "Hey Jimmy, where did you go?" And it says, "Do you want this to happen to you when you sit on the stands watching your next ball game?" And that it's just a taste of. They're really good, and what impressed me the most is how the kids really understand the value of the field. And just if you get a chance, read them before they go. March 15th is our deadline, so they're quite heartwarming there. So thank you. Any reports? Do you have any reports? Most of the executive session. Okay. Terry, you're good. Guys, I had copied you on my mayor's report, just to highlight a few of the items. We have established our safety committee, which consists of our department heads. We have our first of 4 meetings on Monday, the 11th, which will involve our risk manager to again, talk about our safety training program for all our departments. And again, we're going to be real aggressive in bringing such training to all our departments in the borough. Again, we're instituting continuing education programs for all our staff, and again, aggressive safety training as well. We also have scheduled February 21st, our mandatory anti-harassment seminar for our department heads, and Fred Zemrow graciously is at no cost hosting that seminar for us. We're real close to online bill paying. I have a meeting this week with a few more credit card vendors. We are also in the process of when we introduce our fee ordinance to make sure we adopt the fees to cover any expenses we may incur by taking credit cards. So that's all in the works, and I would hope, again, as I stated at the last meeting, by the end of February, we're online for tax payments, animal licensing, and rec fees this time. This morning I had an interview with Moody's. They're reviewing our bond rating. Sherry sat in with me. Yesterday we met with our auditor in preparation for the interview, and it went very, very positive. With future growth and the things that are spurring in town, it was all positive to Moody's, so we will hope for the best on our review, which we should know in approximately 2 weeks. We are approving the 2 animal control contracts we received back from Wanaku and Pompton Lakes this evening. I don't know if you knew, Waterfall, our welcome sign at Waterfall Village, our Bow Park sign were damaged in the storm. Reimbursable by FEMA, these will be reinstalled in the next 2 weeks. We had a water main break on First Street again. This is the 5th one in a few years. The good news is we had our staff do this repair. The cost was $1,500, which we're approving tonight as an emergency. But our staff, it was a small enough repair, but they had to dig, and it was a good start. Successfully repaired this at a much lower cost than some in the past. As I said in the email, we've made repairs to the fire alarm system here in the Borough Hall, as well as pricing one that we'll see budget-wise for the DPW building. Email rollover should be this week, so everyone's aware. Okay, there's no more you have to do. It'll go live to Outlook and on your website, and I'll keep you in the loop on that. Budget worksheets have been completed. I will present to the committee. Amending my report, being that we're not seeking state aid, we must introduce by 4/15, April 15th. Okay, so I should have full, complete budget worksheets to the budget committee by the middle of next week. We are in the process of a de-snagging project, which we already have funding from our flood mitigation bond they floated a few years ago. We have a major problem from Glenwald Ave to Oakwood Park, and our engineers looked at that. That work should begin this week. If you notice, you'll see the backup of the storm drains, which is our issue, not the county's. Sloan Park project should begin in May. We're close to going to bid on that. And real good news, FEMA. We've concluded our FEMA file for Hurricane Sandy. And I cannot give it enough thanks and kudos to our department heads who organized this process, particularly Sherry Gallagher, our treasurer, and Al Gallagher, our DPW superintendent, and Chief Hudson, our fire chief, and Chief Burrell, our police chief. I guess we're, sadly to say we're getting good at it because of the recent storms over the past few years, but they have put the FEMA reps were so impressed when they come here that in 2 visits we had a completed file. And then, in comparison to other towns, they say it goes on months and months and months. So the total nut for all our fees, including straight time, remember FEMA's paying 30 days of straight time following the storm, is $491,000, of which we will receive 75%. The good news is that covers entirely our emergency appropriation from last year for this year's budget. It will exceed our emergency appropriation, which will allow us to build surplus and put some of that difference back in surplus. So that is a good day. And the reason it exceeds is because they're paying straight time, which is already a budgeted item in 2012. So 491 was the total nut for machine use, all our expenses related. FEMA mitigation. Tonight we're authorizing a grant to apply for FEMA mitigation. There's a mitigation grant that is not specific to Sandy. It is money available, and large part of this money we assume will go to South Jersey, as it should. But we are going to apply for 2 generators, DPW and Fireman's Hall. And we're going to apply the $800,000 portion of our $1.2 million bond for the mitigation work at Sloan Park. Although not related to Sandy, the money's available for mitigation projects to prevent future flooding. Again, I would be happy if we get all of it. I'd be happy if we get part of it. But this came up literally January 15th. I received a memo from OEM, and the deadline is February 14th. And our engineer is preparing that. We're going to authorize that this evening to go for FEMA mitigation, unrelated to the reimbursement. Just to keep you in the loop, I've received from DPW a preparation of all our roads that need to be repaired over a 10-year plan. We want to implement a 10-year plan on our roads so it's not haphazard. We can start trying to build reserve for road paving, continue using the co-op, continue getting DOT grants, but have a 10 to 15-year plan in place going forward. And that's what I've developed the list. Together with the committee, we'll develop the plan moving forward. The same with vehicles. Councilman D'Amato and I had a great meeting with DPW, all the employees, to talk about what they should expect from us and what we should expect from them. And it was a real positive meeting, and it was very positive that the feedback we were getting from the staff with ideas, and just great ideas. And one in particular, which should have been in place but will be in place by March 1st, is a vehicle plan as far as replacement. We can't wait till it's broken to fix it, or to replace it. So we're going to be doing a 10-year study on vehicle replacement, similar to road repavement, so we can get a stable plan, which is, again, a lot of what Moody's likes to see in your review. So all these things are good. Reminder, we have Saturday an ethics course for those who are attending. I believe in Kinnelon, we shared that with Kinnelon. That's Saturday at 8 a.m. And one final thing, we received a $5,000 reimbursement from FEMA from Irene on a sinkhole on Overlook Road. This is something that has been repaired, but out of the blue, we got $5,400 reimbursement this week from FEMA on that very old piece, which is a late submission. So all good. All right, so there's some information. Anybody have questions on any of my items? All right. Thank you. Continuing, again, approval of the motion to approve the consent agenda, which just consists of my report. Is a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Any discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Pending business. Adoption of resolution 2013 2.1. Approval of our animal control contract interlocal agreement with the Borough of Wanacue. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Come on. Any discussion? Again, this was used, we took expiring per capita rate, increased to 10 cents used in 2010 census, and overall we're seeing about an additional 18,000 revenue from our animal control contracts between all of them. Roll call, please.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, adoption of resolution 2013 2.2. This is approval of the animal control contract with the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Thank you. Item C, there's no action to be taken other than informational. In your books, particularly for the new councilman, I created a pending list, and these items just stay on this list until completed. And again, when you wish to add something so it's not lost, please advise me and we will increase it. But here's the most current as of January 30th, pending list, which is in your folder. And that's not including the day-to-day things that continue to arise. I have separate to-do lists for that. But this is just some larger, broken down by, and I'll amend that, mayor's responsibility, borough attorney, engineer, governing body, Department of Public Works, all things that are out there that we need to bring to conclusion for review. And I like the list because you never forget about it. It's just an update. Okay. Item D is the second final reading, the public hearing on Ordinance 6, 2013. We need to create the position of qualified purchasing agent. Our new CFO, at no additional money, as we are paying him to be part-time CFO, will now hold this title. So, Terry, if I can have a public notice statement.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald and News, copies available to the public, so the motion may be made that it be read by title.
Thank you. Do I have that motion to read by title?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have that? Yeah. It's a long one. Yeah, no, read, no, you just read the, actually, Jane read the whole thing in the record on introduction, so read it, it's a long one,
Okay.
sorry.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale in the County of Passaic, the State of New Jersey, removing Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Borough Administrator.
No.
What?
This is for, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep, my bad.
So, you want me to start?
No, go ahead, continue.
Borough Administrator, Section 2.8.9, purchasing of the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale and adding new Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Borough Officers and Employees, Section 2-15, qualified purchasing agent to create and appoint the position of qualified purchasing agent of Borough of Bloomingdale.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Yazdi, Shortman. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to Ordinance 6, 2013, please come up. State your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Now I need a motion to adopt 6, 2013. Again, adopting the ordinance for qualified purchasing agent.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Now, item F, now adoption of resolution 2013-2.3, the appointment of Tim Roberts as our qualified purchasing agent. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Item 2, second and final reading and public hearing of ordinance 7, 2013, amending bond ordinance number 17, 2009. We'll have a public notice statement, please.
I need to read
No, this is the bond, this is next one.
I'm just reading the right title.
Yeah.
Bond ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic, New Jersey, amending in its entirety bond ordinance number 17-2009, finally adopted October 27, 2009.
And I need a motion that that ordinance be read by title.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Read the second paragraph. No, actually, yeah, the first was the, was the public notice statement. Just reread into the record the title again, the same thing.
Bond ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic, New Jersey, amending it in its entirety, bond ordinance number 17, 2009, finally adopted October 27, 2009.
Okay. And do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 7, 2013, please come on up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close?
Second.
Excuse me. Sure. Now I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Tomato.
Mr. Mayor, can you just remind me what this was all about? Why we're amending it?
Well, we're doing a few amendments. We're taking 43,000, which was remaining in this bond, and we're amending it for improvements to facilities. We have our heating system, which is, causing problems, as we all know. Our roof leaking, and we're looking to replace the carpet here. So we're amending this bond ordinance to allow various improvements in municipal facilities. And that's what we're amending here, and the total amount is 43, not to exceed 43,000. That was amending this original bond back from 2009.
And the 43,000 is already sitting there, it's already been bonded.
It's already bonded.
We're already paying taxes on it, so this will bring
Nothing-
absolutely
nothing
zero increase to
Correct.
anything.
We're just amending it to be able to utilize it for building the facility.
Okay. And the heating system is absolutely broken.
In the long run, it's going to save.
Absolutely.
The original amount of this bond was
400.
28,000?
Now you're going to ask me where was that spent on?
No.
It's actually in the,
I can see that, what it was supposed to be spent on, fire truck,
Right.
different things. So what is left out of that money, after all that was done, is the 43,000?
Right, because it was for fire engine, for fire department, purchase of various vehicles, and again, now we're moving it to building and facilities. Okay. Yeah, roll call, please.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, item 3, second and final reading, and public hearing for ordinance 8, 2013. This is for the Walter T. Bergen Recreation Field Restroom Facility.
So moved.
Second. Oh, wait, I need a public notice statement.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance is posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald and News, copies available to the public, so that a motion may be made that it be read by title.
And can I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Type.
Ordinance appropriating a $99,000 grant expected to be received from the Passaic County Open Space and Farmland Preservation Trust Fund to provide for renovations to the Bergen Recreational Field Restroom Facility in and by the Borough of Bloomingdale, New Jersey.
Thank you. And now do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 8, 2013 regarding the Walter T. Bergen restroom project, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now who makes the motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
So if it's adopted, it goes out to bid then?
Well, last week we authorized the architect to do the design, the bid spec. So now we've authorized the fully funding of this reimbursable grant. So we fund it, we do it, the county pays us a 99, we pay off that note. So right now, I'm hoping we should be out to bid by middle of March, early March, once we get the bid spec back. The early indications were a lot less than what we have, which is good news under the 99. But then we're looking at increasing it, adding another stall or facility to stay within the 99. But yeah, this will go out to bid and we're hoping for a May, June build out. Would be our plan.
So we have up to 99 to spend.
Correct.
And
And
then
then the Rose Fund, if everybody chose to
Right.
go there. But we're hoping to keep it at 99, including soft costs. No more. Okay. Any further discussion? Any roll call?
Yazdi?
Yes.
Conklin?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Bill Ripa?
Yes.
Shortman?
Yes.
Sondemire?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then item 4 is the second and final reading and public hearing on ordinance 9, 2013, soil mulch delivery permit and the delivery locations. Do I have a public notice statement, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance is posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public, so that a motion may be made, that is made by title.
And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Yazdi, second?
Second.
Rich? All in favor? Aye. And please read.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic and the State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 4, General Licensing, Section 4-4, Soil Mulch Delivery Permits of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Bloomingdale, 2000, the revised Section 4-4.3, Delivery Location.
Thank you. And I need a motion to open public.
So moved.
Second. Is anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 9, 2013? Please come up, state your name and address.
Rich Pound, 16 High Street, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. Now, we're in the mulch business, right?
Well, we're going to try to increase our revenues by providing delivery to our residents.
That means you're going to spread this stink all over town.
No,
Because, I mean, it is atrocious down here, John.
okay, I'll talk about the stink. That's not what this is about, but I'll talk
Okay,
about it. No, I'll talk, Rich, I'll talk about it. One, this is a revenue producer. Two, this will help reduce the product in the yard, hopefully, to help lessen the odor. Now, let's talk about the odor. It's awful. I know it is. We've had the county health department involved.
Yeah, call them.
We are, well, so have I, okay? And what has contributed to it is the amount of product that's been brought over the last 3 years into there because of the storms. It's just an incredible amount of product that has been brought to the yard. And at the same time, the supply of mulch, not just here, in all of New Jersey, the supply is so great that it's not meeting the demand, so there's abundance of product. That product is staying too long than it should as a result, resulting in the odor. We're looking to reduce the product on site, not just by this ordinance, by enforcing with the contractor to do so. And the Board of Health, County Board of Health, has a fine mechanism if needed to help press this home. And not on the borough's dime. Our contract is clear that any fines, the borough can be fined, but it's retro. It goes right to the contractor. So this is a priority on my list. And I live there too. I smell it as equal as you. And it needs to be dealt with. And then the biggest part of the problem is the amount of product that's there, which needs to be reduced. This can only help us.
But I mean, they had 3 fires there in 1 month. And,
Yeah, again,
you know, I can't talk for the fire department, but I you know, hearsay, the contractor's going, no, don't put no water on it, don't put no water on it, you know.
well, and then I believe the fire department shouldn't even be called on those. I believe it's a matter of just turning them and disposing of it. I mean, again, the fire, I mean,
The last fire we had, I walked out the door at 6 o'clock in the morning, I said, we got a fire over the dumps, I can smell it here.
right, well, just,
The only thing good at my point, excuse me, the only thing good at my point, and not yours,
Yeah.
that 90% of the smell goes towards Mortar Slate now.
tell me about it.
I mean, I don't know where you live, John, but I mean,
That was part of the deal.
but I mean, when they get over there mulching it, you can't stand it. I mean, you can smell it all the way up to Main Street.
Absolutely, and what I don't understand
And
is,
then last week I called the Board of Health, they were there like that, and they stood in my driveway. Well, of course, they were done mulching by 12 o'clock, everybody goes on to
so
12
there was
o'clock.
no smell.
And I really can't smell it. She said, I know you can't, I don't either.
Right.
You get here at 8 o'clock in the morning,
When it's being worked, right. Like, juicing the product is gonna help it. I'm sorry, before you go, is there something?
On fire department side, when we go.
When they call you, okay.
And of course, you know, it's the DPW comes in the morning, they see it, they call us. The police go in to get gas, they see it, they call us. We're gonna put water on it. It is what it is.
hey,
You know, if you like it or not, we're gonna take it and throw gallons and gallons of water on it, and that's his problem if he's not turning it fast enough. So,
But
that's
it's,
fire.
it's a priority. Thank you.
Is there any limit to how much mulch you can have in that?
I don't know quantities, the answer is yes, but he's in full DEP compliance. They're there inspecting him quarterly, and we get a clean bill of health.
As he turns it, is that what makes it smell also? Maybe that's why you leave it stagnant, you let it sit there?
It's turning it, it's the tub grinding, it's the excess volume of material in the past 3 years that is definitely worsening the problem.
He never gets to the bottom.
Right.
There's so much of
There's
this.
so much of it. And I mean, I had a conversation with him that the supply is so great of mulch. You know, he was telling me a story, he used to get, you know, $12 a yard, most, you know, to some big contractors or big accounts. And he's lucky to get $6 a yard, because the supply is so great that everyone's giving it away and moving it. So, hopefully this ordinance.
What's the contract, like, what is it, 30 grand a year or so we made?
No, again, it's an asset to the borough for a lot of reasons. The contract is $35,000 a year that we get from this contract. But at the same time, there's a value to him dealing with our site. If he didn't, we'd have to do one of two things. We'd have to send out our own brush and pay to get rid of it, or have the manpower to deal with it on site, tub grinding it, turning it like he's doing. That number, you would need 2 men and tub grinders, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sending it out is, again, is another alternative, but there's more cost for the borough. This also ties in with another interlocal agreement we have with Pompton Lakes. We take Pompton Lakes brush, which is $40,000. So combined, as a result of him being there, we're at $75,000 in revenue, well, in offset cost interlocal agreement with RER. Plus the manpower savings and/or subcontracting savings by not having to take our brush elsewhere. So there's a value, a real big value to having him there. So we need to, you know, work through this and hopefully deal with the odor situation.
Is there a limit on how much he's going to sell us, or we can send to our residents?
Two truckloads.
2 truckloads per year.
Per year. But is there a top limit he's going to let us do it?
Well, it's in the contract. We have $20,000 worth of
That doesn't
product.
need to be sitting in the ordinance?
No, because we have the contract defines the limitation on it.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just
Just say your
thinking,
name and address for the
Alex
record.
Watson, 133 Greenwood Ave. I think part of the problem with the mulch is that it's starting to decompose, and that's what's causing the fires and, you know, sitting there a long time. Would it be feasible to do some kind of compost with the old mulch? Where you add grass or any other vegetation to it, and then you create compost that people can use in their gardens as, you know, soil.
The product's his product. That's part of
There's
it.
nothing-
You know, what's on the hill is his product. So the only way, I mean, that's the conversation I'll have with him. But if there's no value for him to own compost, then he's not going to be doing it. The
Well,
goal
it's
is,
a longer process, obviously. to
but that's not a
break
product.
down.
He sells mulch and topsoil. And so obviously, I mean, that's something I could talk with him about. The issue is getting rid of the product, lessening the amount of product for exact reason you stated. That's the end goal here.
Well, it's something to think about, because
Yeah.
people would probably take that, because it's expensive to buy topsoil and to buy,
Right.
it's very good compost now.
No, I'll speak to that, because we're going to be speaking a lot.
Just a thought.
Thank you very much. Again, we're still open for public comment. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one, have a motion to close.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. And now I need a motion to adopt the delivery permit and delivery location ordinance.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Is there any further discussion? Second, Conklin? Yeah. And a roll call, please.
Conklin? Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yes.
Shortman?
Yes.
Sondemire?
Yes.
Yazdi?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, new business. 12A, introduction of ordinance 11, 2013. This will be amending Chapter 8, Parks and Recreation, adding new section 8.1.1, prohibiting sledding, skating, and walking on ice on borough-owned ponds. Not to be a killjoy, this is, though, a real issue. A real issue because the borough has great exposure. The borough doesn't sponsor any such events. The borough's not taking the responsibility of the ice monitoring. And as a result, to protect ourselves, we need to have a law on the books prohibiting such usage on Oakwood and Bogue. So I have a motion to introduce. Do I have a second? Second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Would there be any reason to include swimming and boating?
The ordinance will include swimming. The title is sledding, skating, and walking, but the ordinance, as written, will, actually the signage, I take that back, the signage prohibits swimming and boating. Again, the ordinance, does it have a prohibition on it? I'm not sure.
No, it's just the
It's
section.
just- It's just the ice skating.
It gets into water.
Right. But we have to post signs per our insurance fund. They are going to state no skating, swimming, or boating. And we don't have that exposure in those ponds.
No?
No, I don't think you're going to swim in those ponds. Well, unless you, I'll give you a medal. Give you a certificate for doing that. No, but seriously, this,
Well, I see those little plastic boats, it might be,
yeah, not on
you know,
Oakwood.
a
I
good
always,
idea to get in a boat.
not on Oakwood or boat, although that's how you win the trout fishing contest. Getting a boat out there. I don't know what that's. But no, the ordinance will prohibit ice skating and sledding and walking on ice, just to limit our exposure. Any further discussion? And this second final reading will be on the 19th at, sorry, at 7:30.
John,
Yes.
if in the future, if there was an event that town wanted to hold,
I would
this
vote.
ordinance would prohibit us from having the ability to do it?
You'd have to repeal the ordinance. There's too much exposure. I mean, I don't want to, the Bug Lake situation is a real situation. That particular town's going to have some big issues. If you don't have a mechanism, if you don't have something that says it's illegal to do and post it, and then someone, gets injured, your exposure is greater. You're going to have exposure no matter what you own the pond. This is going to lessen our exposure.
Okay.
We're not monitoring the ice. We're not checking it. If you were to have an ice skating function, as fun as it is, and as I said, I don't want to be a killjoy, you would have to monitor that ice 24/7. 24/7, Saturday, Sunday, 10 o'clock at night, to make sure that ice is safe to go on, if you're going to promote it.
That's what lake
This is
commission.
working with lake communities, that's,
Lakes are private.
How do they do it? How do
Well-
they monitor it?
We don't. In my lake, which I'm president of, our bylaws actually prohibit the cutting of ice, and we can't fish. The bylaws do not, and that stems from being an ice, they used to cut ice in Morse lakes, and so that's where the cutting of ice comes, so it's a big argument in the lake about ice fishing. It's not a social committee function, it's just not addressed. It's prohibited in the bylaws, and it's, skate at own risk kind of thing. Just to limit your exposure. You're gonna have exposure just through ownership. The minute you identify and say, hey, wreck Friday night ice skating at Bogue, forget it. But even without sponsoring an event, by not posting, it's not allowed. And if a child goes on the ice or an adult and gets hurt, your exposure is greater.
Well,
You're gonna have
what
exposure
if,
no matter what you do.
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, post the signs and everything, but give us the ability to have a event.
I would
If
just,
there was a day that we wanted to hold that event. I'm not saying that there is such an
Isn't
event
your
today.
ice skating facility
yeah,
in front of
it's too, the exposure's too great.
It could be a whole
But
bunch
then
of-
what I would do is go back to what they did, I believe, when, Mike, you grew up here, is, you know, they would flood the basketball court at the leisure field in that cold weather and ice skate there. They actually did. You know, they used to, there was berms around at the leisure basketball court.
But
It would,
but also, the 2 ponds you're talking about, you used to play hockey on there all the time.
again, I'm
How
not,
deep are those ponds?
3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot, 6 inches, depends where
We
you are.
wouldn't have.
So if you have a height restriction, people like to use.
Probably about 4 foot a month, but.
Yeah, you could have that.
You could have that.
Without a doubt. Depends on who's on that ice and who goes through.
And you get stuck in the mud, you're really.
And there's no way to give ourselves the ability, so if recreation, it was a recreation sponsored event with the correct insurance, it was.
It's not, you have the insurance, you've got broad coverage, it's just the exposure exists. And I think the Bud Lake example requires us to do this. I mean, I don't want to speak on the record, I don't know all the facts on Bud Lake, but, you know, well, I don't know. Bud Lake, from what I read in the newspaper, I don't think, had an ordinance, and they had some crazy exposure now as a result of that.
Anyone could walk in and do what they got to do.
So who enforces
There's
it?
no signs.
Again, like any ordinance in this, under this chapter, it's the police department. So, and that happened. I mean, what triggered this was on the cold day, I got a call over the weekend from a police officer who said, what do I do, there's kids on the lake? And I said, we have nothing on the books. And I said, but for safety, because it's not monitored, kick them off. And that's what he did.
But if
Well,
Rec
then-
wanted to have an event, I don't know, 2 years down the line, we just stopped
You
Rec
can't. The answer's no.
being able to do it,
Then what?
unless we modify the ordinance to allow
But you're
for
not,
such thing to happen if it's a rec-sponsored event.
but I would argue this, right? So Bloomingdale, the borough's been in existence since 1918, and Rex never had an ice skating on top of ice event. Well, you know, why would we now, when the exposure's too great to even consider doing that? I would have a problem with that event. I'd say go to Ice Wall, up the highway, and have your event. I know it's a wholesome, great, fun thing, believe me.
I know,
Can I just make a suggestion?
Well, we'll have a public hearing on it, so hold on a second, Wendy. I don't have a problem with that, but hold on a second. Again, this is just a motion for introduction, but not, again, I don't want to have you wait till late public comment, Wendy, so if it's okay with the governing body.
I gotta leave.
No, I said I don't want you to wait. If you want to make a comment, I still need you to state your name and address for the record. It's kind of out of order because we're not even in a
It's
public
just the legal.
session here, but go ahead.
Wendy Connolly, Lake Iosco. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you put no trespassing signs in the lake around the border, that would cover the town, because legally, you own the property,
These are town ponds.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
The town owns the property.
Right.
If the town were to put no trespassing in the lake, in other words, not on the land, but along the border of the lake, if anybody were to bring trespass into the lake, you would be covered.
But it's public property.
I understand that.
How do you have no trespass?
In the water, in the water. The water is owned by the government.
State.
The
State controls the water. right there.
Exactly.
Right.
So I don't know the legality if you could do that. So then if you would want to function, you would just, but the signs would be there, but you do use the lake for that function. But I don't know legally how that would, if it would be covered.
Right.
Because the water, do you understand what
I
I'm
do
saying?
understand, but I, personally, I would never support a rec function on ice, on a pond, and I think this is a stronger way to do it. But I do understand, Wendy, and I'll, you know, this is an introduction, so it's not an adoption. So to Wendy's point, if you were to say there was no trespassing in that section,
Right.
you know,
Along the-
if someone went on top of the ice or in the water, they're right, because they're trespassing, you know. Yeah, I'll try my
I mean, I would say that it does add an extra layer of protection for the town, but is it a guaranteed? Not necessarily, because, you know, obviously there would probably still be a suit filed, and no trespassing signs aren't a guarantee that there's going to be no liability, but it is an added protection.
But nor is the ordinance says no skating, pure protected
Exactly.
either.
Yeah.
You know, because some can sue. Just,
Right.
I said that earlier, I said, we have exposure because we own the pond. An ordinance of some sort will protect us, lessen our exposure. So I'd ask you to introduce by title. Adoption will be the 19th. We'll have our attorney continue with Tracy. Tracy can review that further to see if Ms. Conley's idea would circumvent what you're saying. So, thank you, though, for that comment. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call on introduction.
Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes?
Shortman,
Yes.
Sondemire,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion to approve the ground rules for negotiations between the Borough of Bloomingdale and our CWA Local 1032 White Collar. This is simply setting the ground rules and setting the date schedule for our negotiations. So just, I need a motion by resolution, which we don't have created, 2013 2.4, again, just approving the ground rules and schedule for White Collar. Have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? I'm sorry?
Sondemire and
Mike and John. Any further discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next meeting is tomorrow at 4:30. Okay, I just would like authorization for borough employees to sign up for voluntary vision care, no cost to the borough. I've done some research on a program that would cost the employee $38 annually. The borough would join, no cost, so they could become a member. It's just a discount program for the larger eye care facilities. Just a perk for our employees to take advantage of at absolutely no cost to the borough. So can someone make a motion to authorize that I can begin with this in place? So moved. Delariva, second. Second by whom? D'Amato. Any further discussion?
I guess I could ask the question, which has been answered, but I reached out to people I know working in Wayne, but I haven't really got an answer back from them how it works. But I think basically it's, as I said to you, it's like buying a BJ's card. It gives you the right to go to BJ's. So for your $38, $36, you just get the right to a discount at the places they name.
Right, and there's some real deep cut discounts. I sent you all the benefit
Yep.
brochures, and yeah, it's good stuff.
And have you checked with the towns that are using it? How they find it?
No, I just checked with the providers, and they're all local providers.
Okay.
And John, you need this from us because it's a group thing, like,
Well, no, I don't.
no
I just
individual
want
can
your
go get it
authorization.
on their own?
Excuse me, no, right, we have to be members. The first year's membership needs to be payroll deducted. And then after that, the employee's direct bill. But the first year's $38 has to be payroll deducted. So,
So it has to be a group. They're looking for an
well, it has to
organization.
be, right,
They're
there's,
looking for a sponsorship, basically.
there's actually if we were to fund it, there's a minimum 100-member participation. Voluntary, it's over 50, or over 50. So if we were only 10 people, no, you couldn't do it. If you're a small business, you can't take advantage of this. But it has to be the borough being the member for them to get part of it. That's all. And again, it's not costing us anything. 2.4. No. Okay, so again, there was a motion on the table to approve, I believe. Did I have that motion? Seconded by D'Amato, I believe. Any further discussion? And just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item D, discussion and review of grant company Bruno Associates proposal. I'm not going to dwell too much into this. Rich and I had met with a company called Bruno Associates, which is a grants company that would assist the borough in grant writing. They proposed a fee, which I don't want to disclose because if we're going to proceed this, we need to get competitive bidding. So I don't want to disclose their fee. But just want something on the table that I may bring one or two more companies in. Looking at some of the success stories, though, most of them were education-related and/or grants we already get, which we do in-house, either through staff and/or our engineer. So we really need to study, the pot of money is not enough out there, it may not be worth the investment. Okay, so the proposal is in my office, if anyone wishes to review, but I don't want to disclose numbers, because again, it could be, we may seek more proposals. I don't want to put the competitions, put them on, the amount out there yet. So the proposal's there for your review, and like I said, you can look at it. It'll come down to a budgetary issue. Even if there was interest, we have to see if we can afford it. But the one thing already is, I didn't think the pool of success stories is so worth it. But we'll continue to look. Okay? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, this is just an update.
Just an update that we had them in. And it's intriguing, but like I said, a lot of it was, a lot of the money, the success stories were urban areas, schools, and grants we already get without the assistance of Nancy. I'd like a motion to adopt Resolution 2013 2.5. This is urging our legislators to reject Bill A 1196 and urging supporters to work with the Municipal Excess Liability Fund and the League of Municipalities to develop less expensive ways to improve compensation for first responders. Now, if you had an opportunity to look at the resolution, there's legislation in front of the Senate that we're not opposing the content, we're just saying find other ways to do such funding. Because what this legislation states is any emergency first responder who dies from an issue of cancer, heart attack, or hypertension will automatically be assumed as a workers' comp related expense whether it happened on the job or not. And the cost to municipalities can be just incredibly burdensome over time if this was to become law. And we're not saying, obviously, there's the importance of protecting the first responder, but they need to find other ways to do so than making it a workers' comp claim on all such instances. So that's what we're supporting along with the League of Municipalities in urging them to reject it, but look at other less expensive ways to compensate first responders. So do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. And is there any further discussion? And we'll do a roll call, please.
Del Rippe,
Yes.
Shortman,
Yes.
Sondemire,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Tomato,
I'm going to abstain from this because it kind of includes me.
That's fine. Yep, understand. Okay. Next item is adoption of resolution 2013 2.6. This is authorizing the submission of a FEMA mitigation grant, which I explained in my report. This is a Passaic County multi-jurisdictional, multi-hazard grant. What we need to do as part of our application is we need to, by resolution, adopt the Passaic County's mitigation plan. So resolution 2013 2.6 is authorizing, adopting by resolution the county's mitigation plan, which we need in place to apply for the FEMA money. There's a component in, it's a 300-page document, the county mitigation plan, which there's a section on Bloomingdale, and in their mitigation plan that identifies the Sloan Park issue, the Van Dam issue, all the Van Dam Brook, all the issues we were facing, and that we funded in our $1.2 million bond are all in the county's mitigation plan. So rather than goodness than us having to reinvent the wheel with our own mitigation plan, we simply are adopting the county's, which needs to be done. Should have been done, so we're doing it now. So, do I have that motion?
So moved.
And do I have a second? And is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Shortman,
Yes.
Sondemire,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Short, Del Rippe.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Review FEMA claim for Hurricane Sandy. I pretty much touched upon that in my report. Okay, so if anyone needs to see the filings, they're in my office as far as the dollar amounts and how it was derived. So again, great success story there. Review spending authority. Now this issue, I just want to clarify. There's nothing supporting documentation. In the past, the governing body, in the past 2 years, has adopted by resolution. Then I think ultimately it became part of the bylaws. Spending cap, I believe it was $2,500. Anything over $2,500 has to come before the governing body. Now, I do not in any way object to the cap, but it can't be on budgetary items. Because yesterday, DPW had to buy $6,000 worth of salt. So you can't possibly make them come to us for purchases like that. So what I'm proposing, now that we have a QPA, Qualified Purchasing Agent, there's a couple things the council can do. 15% of our threshold, the threshold that we can do projects without going public bid is $26,000. It's now $26,000. We have a Qualified Purchasing Agent. We can spend up to 15% of that money. Once we hit 15%, which is $3,900, we need 3 competitive quotes. Okay? So what I'm proposing is put a spending limitation in place that applies to all department heads, including myself, that no authorization can be made in excess of $3,900 for non-budgeted items without coming before the governing body. And it was mentioned at the last meeting, the Monday meeting we had, about, someone had asked, what's the spending limitations and concerns, and it was kind of confusing because there was none in place. Well, obviously in my new role, I have to authorize spending. I do it every day. Department heads purchasing, I'm reviewing purchase orders all day long, within budget. So what we're addressing here, for the comfort of the governing body, and I absolutely support it, is a limitation on non-budgeted items must come before the governing body, utilizing what we're allowed to do with the quoting process of $3,900. It used to be 25 because before we had QPA, the spending limit was 17.5. So the magic number then was really 2650, but for some reason the council said it was about 2500. So it's up to the governing body, just to memorialize it. So for example, if the mayor or the DPW says, hey, we want to carpet the council chambers, and it's not in a budgeted item, then I have to come to you with the estimates and get the authorization to do it. This is an example.
Assuming it exceeded $3,900.
If it exceeds $3,900.
But John, is there a need to go to 3,900?
It's the pleasure of the governing body. That's just the allowable amount by law.
Got it.
Without having to get,
What's the number now?
2,500.
well, there's nothing now, because there's nothing. We did it by resolution last year, and the resolution died at the end of the year.
I think the 2,500's been in effect more than last year.
2 years.
It was back under the,
You do 10?
yeah, I think so.
3 years. Whatever, it's pleasure of the governing. I just used, the only reason the number changed is because we have QPA.
John, use your example. You said salt, $6,000, whatever it was.
Right.
That would come in front of the council?
No, because that's a budgeted item. That's in his budget. No.
3,900 on budgeted items.
Well, the old rule was 2,500 on budgeted items.
So I'm lost on
I'm saying non-budgeted.
3,900 is a $6,000 salt bill. That's going through because it's a budgeted item?
Correct.
Regardless.
Right, because think about it. How can you make all that come to the governing body every time? 2,500 is nothing for a normal operating expense.
Yeah, our gas bill is
Gas
$5,000.
$5,000 is delivered.
Right.
Doesn't
need
seem
gas
to have ever
to be
come
covered.
up as a problem, though.
Because it wasn't enforced.
It's a budgeted item, right? So those are fine,
Because it wasn't enforced, that's the
but
reality.
anything outside the
That's why.
budget,
No,
emergency spending, $2,500, it's been in place. Anything over 2,500, there's a need for 3
Well,
quotes.
no, now, anything over 3,900 is a need for 3 quotes, now that we have a QPA. That's where the 3,900 came from. If the governing body
But
wants
if
to
we left
keep
it
it
at
at 25, that's fine, that's fine.
It'd still be anything over 2,500.
That's the pleasure of the governing body, whatever the choice is.
Right.
But if it was 2,600, I could, or a department head could bring me 1 quote by law,
If it was 25.
right? Because it's 3,900, although we want to get that quote.
When your department heads are submitting their budgets, and they're doing their forecast for
Right.
the year,
Right.
we're gonna go out and buy furniture for an office. That's a budgeted item, which you're planning for.
And it's
So-
usually capital. Like, in other words, I used the carpet example, but that really wouldn't apply. I'll still bring it to the governing body because that's in capital. You just voted on amending a bond to do building improvements such as roof, heat. Those things are going to be done.
The salt, $6,000 with the salt, that's in his budget for the year,
Right.
so we don't need approval for that because the budget committee already approved it.
That's my position. But I'm just saying, in the past, last
So
year,
don't go over your, if you have 20,000 that item line, or don't go over it. Well, then you need permission.
Correct.
They
But I
can't-
mean, the whole budget got voted on by all of us, so.
That's what that movement of stuff.
right, the mechanism's already in place because you can't encumber something more than what's in your
Correct.
budget. You can't, the system wouldn't even allow you to encumber it. Okay, so that's why we do transfers in November. If there's a shortfall somewhere, then that's how you're covering, such expenditure. Again, I'm just bringing it up because it was brought up kind of awkwardly at the last meeting, which I didn't partake in because I was off the days. And I just felt it was important to get on the record that there is a spending authority because we need to operate daily. The statement was made, there's no, the mayor has no authority. Well, that's not the case. They have absolute authority because we got to operate day to day. So let's put the mechanism in place. It used to be $2,500. Didn't declare it non-budgeted. It was $2,500, period.
So the 3,900 you're talking about now is basically a law. Since we have a QPA.
No, the coming to the governing body is something we do here. That's not a law. No.
You stated that since we have this person in place, you need 50% of the $26,000.
And not, that all that means is, let's back up. You have a QPA, which means you can spend up to $26,000 without having to publicly bid something, put bid specs together, put it in the newspaper and all that. So anything, 15% of that number, 3,900, anything between 3,900 and 25,999, you need 3 quotes. That's the law.
25,000.
Correct. That's the law. So there's no law that says the governing body has to approve any of that. I'm bringing it forward to say, let's create that. So there's that mechanism in place that no one, a future BA, the current mayor, can't go spend 12 grand unbudgeted without you guys knowing about it. Can't spend 3,901 without you knowing about it. If you want to keep it 25, that's up to you. I just want to know where the 39 came from.
Understood.
And I'm just putting it in place because it was brought up and I think it needs to be dealt with.
Well, how does that affect you in your role every day working?
If, let's say, a department head came to me with a $5,000 estimate for, I mean, I can think of a million examples, a plow, snow plow, wasn't in his budget. I wouldn't be able to approve it. I'd have to come to the governing body.
And if we pass this, you would?
No, if you pass this, I wouldn't be able. Today, I would be able to because there's no mechanism in
There's no
place.
mechanism right now.
Today, I would be
You can
able
approve
to.
anything you want right now.
We're putting checks and balances in place.
Right.
So
Is what I'm recommending.
the amount of spending we have control over, and we know what's going on.
What if you wanted to buy new chairs and it was $3,000?
It depends. If it was being funded through a capital ordinance that exists already for office furniture, you're not, again, whatever checks and balances you guys want. That has nothing to do with the current operating budget.
5 chairs break, and they're $4,000, you can't do it.
If you make it 3,900,
3,900, you can go out and buy those 5 chairs, that broke, and we don't have to discuss any of it. Right?
Say that again?
Those chairs cost $3,900. Right?
if we set the limit at
No,
3,900,
38,
right.
38,999. We can just go and get it done and keep operating the way we're supposed to be operating. You can come out of the budget for those. That line item.
Again, I don't know, whatever, the lines are in DPW. If he has a line for office equipment, then
I'm just putting that
I
out.
wouldn't have to come.
Right.
John, do you know of any spending, any, all of last year, that was done without bringing it to this body? Outside what was budgeted,
Outside.
right?
No, I would say not.
Right.
Because
So it's really one of those things that you put in place to pass checks and balances, but in reality, he's gonna bring us every.
Can I say anything last year? I can't. I mean, it's impossible.
I can't even remember a penny.
To me,
Has to be
it's good
budgeted.
to have something in place just to make sure that if there is any questions, we have a mechanism in place to say, this is what we did to make sure we have checks and balances.
But if it's not budgeted, how do you spend it? I don't understand, where's that money come from, the 2,500?
You can. it's a department head, you know, I think it's a great question, but that's why you put the mechanisms in place, so they can't exceed, you know, let's say they have $8,000 of gasoline, you know, or again, I don't have the budget memorized line by line.
Sure,
which
right,
one is
right.
it. But, you know, it could be buildings and grounds. Let's use that, I don't want to take out the DPW. Let's say there's, you know, 25,000 buildings and grounds, okay? And, you know, I would say anything, that's not specific to what comes out of that line. You know, tools to clean, I don't know, I'm just saying, so put something in place that anything over 3,900 would have to come to you guys.
I mean, I know what you're thinking now, Ray. If it's not in the budget, if it's $1, it should be in front of us. If it's not budgeted,
Oh, I agree with that.
Right, because
It's
you
not
have to
budgeted.
borrow the money to do it. We
Yeah,
can't-
exactly.
We can't just do it.
well, the
It's
transfer
not
would have to
budgeted.
come to us, right?
Well, the
The
transfer.
question would become where they get that
Well, that would be
certification.
November, right.
Again, it said budgeted items. Previously, it was not non-budget, it was budgeted items. You can't put that restriction on.
I can remember
day-to-day
when
operation.
going back a couple of years ago, there was a plow that was, a truck was broken, the plow, should we fix it? There was a resident sitting out here, who came to every meeting and told that was resolved because of whatever, and Ted wasn't allowed to go spend that money until the council approved it. And that was a budgeted item, that's a maintenance, it was a maintenance issue. So that was a budgeted item. So he still wasn't allowed to spend over 2,500, even though it was budgeted.
So based on the QPA, up to $26,000, if it's budgeted, with 3 quotes, you can spend. Right. So this other extra layer of 2,500 or 3,900 or whatever the number may be,
Again,
I'm not getting it.
Let me back up. Again,
Right.
nor do I.
Right.
This is what's been there for 3 years.
I got you.
Okay?
I
If
got
you
you.
want to say budgeted items or non-budgeted, there's been this limitation in place for 3 years. Okay? I've had a problem with it the last 2 years for the exact reasons you guys are talking about. How can you limit a department head to $2,500? You know, and you say, well, Councilwoman said, well, it's really never been a problem. Well, yeah, because it wasn't enforced.
Right.
But now that I'm in the role I'm in, I want to clarify it so it's clear. Can I be any clearer?
Mr. Park would just spend more than that, because you live, I can tell you, with my white hat on, I could go out and buy 10 sets of turnout gear for guys, and they're $2,500 a piece. And they have to be replaced every so many years by law.
And that's in your budget.
That's, I planned for that in my budget. I didn't ask, I planned for it, and when my budget was approved, that's asking. All right, so once that, not once my budget was approved, no, I went out and bought my gear.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, because when we approved the budget, we approved all the spending in the budget,
It
so.
can't hurt to have it in place.
Well, what? That's my question.
Well, what are we putting in place? 2,500, 3,900? Who cares? Because if it's $6,000 and it's in their budget,
Right.
like your gas bill,
Right. Well, that would, again, that's
it
where,
doesn't have to come here.
that's where this comes from. In 2 years of looking at the bills, is what's this, you know, 4 tires? You know, if it's in his budget, and there's 4 tires leaning on the vehicle, you know, the old rule said all that had to come to you before you voted on it.
Can I ask a question?
Just trying to clarify.
Can I ask a
I'm
question?
doing this now.
Maybe we need to put in place is once the budgets are approved, all right, we just forget about it till next year, right? For the most part?
That's what we do.
So maybe there needs to be checks and balances. How are you doing with your budget in June?
You do. Let me back up.
We do that.
We do that daily.
Well, you do it daily, but do you do it in the department heads that have those budgets? You don't.
No, yes. Well, daily is done by me and Sherry. You know, what I have is sign off on purchase orders. Sherry doesn't print that purchase order unless it's a budgeted item and it's in their budget.
I understand that.
Then I review it and sign off, okay, the purchase.
I understand all that. But my department head had on, when I did my budget, I wasn't asked about anything until the following November. There should be some type of reviews throughout the year, because you might have to make big changes next year. You see how things are going, and things are going south. We always said we're running out of money. Remember that big conversation. But if you kept an eye on everybody's budget, I know it's kind of micromanaging a little bit.
Well, Sherry does. Sherry does that monthly, when she reconciles. She knows everyone's budget. Now, as a budget, when I was budget share on rec, I pull it once a month. I pull my budget once a month to see where I
Well,
was.
me too, I would track it as I was going to do a comparison, but.
You know, I can make it a policy that Sherry's producing those every quarter.
So you're telling me that Al knows tomorrow what his budget lines are
Probably
next
sleeps
month?
with the treasurers.
I bet you don't. I don't care who, I bet you don't.
Here's the reality, right? By the time we introduce, it's going to be April, right? Mid-April. By the time we adopt,
You spent.
because we're going to wait,
I
we're
know,
going to wait
I know.
for FEMA money to come in to balance the budget and all that. You're looking at July,
I know.
right? So it's a period between July and November that some departments may be running out, and you're going to need to do some transfers in order to make things happen, right?
But those departments, when those budgets are put in, right, and when you order $6,000 worth of salt, you should know I have $20,000, now I only have X amount left. Don't go over that.
Well,
Plan.
true, and those are the times
Or
that they
or
come
we
in
just
front
say,
of us.
they're going to move money around.
Well, if you recall, we
Can we
approved
cover it?
emergency funding, right? Because we ran out of gasoline money, we ran out of salt money. So those are the times they are checking in, and they bring it in front of us saying we ran out of money in these lines, so we have to now go borrow money, right? If you didn't budget.
But if you watch your budget as you're going, you should be able to forecast where your trouble spots are going to be and plan for that a month in advance than the day of.
Ideally, I don't disagree, absolutely correct. But if I was to go in there and slash the budget, we as a governing body, go in there and slash the budget because we're over cap, then there's going to be situations where they run out of money in those lines, and then we have to do an emergency appropriation.
Well, as you slash it, you know that's going to happen, so you're planning.
Right.
Unless they're watching what you plan.
But what we're talking about here, I suppose it's if they ran out of dollars and they came to you for an emergency, now you can approve up to $2,500 or $3,900 without bringing it here as an emergency appropriation. I suppose that's why it's important.
Okay, we don't need to make this any more difficult than it seems to be going. Let me back up. At the last meeting, a resident got us, what spending authority does the mayor have in my new role? Okay? The question, the answer given by the governing body, and I was not sitting here, was he has no authority. And that is a misstatement on the public record. We need to clarify that. I have absolute authority because I sign purchase orders every day. Okay? So I want to clear that. On the record, I have authority. So now, I'm putting to the, and then that same resident stated, what happened to the resolution? We used to limit the spending. And that was $2,500 for anything. That's how it was. So I'm coming to the governing body saying, I have authority because we have to operate. Now, what is the authority? What is the limitation? That's what we're here to discuss. Now, the problem with the old rule, which by the way was never enforced, that's why it was never an issue, is you cannot limit $2,500. Okay? It's violated every day. So, is there a limitation? The laws provide limitations. I'm just bringing it up because it was misstated on the record, and I want to clarify. I have the authority. Now, you want to limit that authority, that's what we're going to talk about. The laws limit that, okay? And with the QPA, you know, it's even more broad. But you can't limit a day-to-day operation expense. If you're going to limit non-budget items, to your point, Councilman, well, how can that be? It's non-budget. You shouldn't be spending it anyway. All true. So I'm just asking, I'm throwing out what mechanisms you want in place. Because prior to 3 years ago, there was none. The borough just operated within their operating budget, period.
Okay, I'll make the motion to leave the $2,500 alone, right, for non-budgeted items on an emergency basis. You have the authority to approve it without having to bring it here. Leave the $2,500 as it is in place.
And that the emergency is a great example because of the water main breaks. That happens all the time where you have to get it done. You can't come, it's a great example of why it was flawed, the old rule was flawed.
Is somebody going to second it?
That's his motion. The authority is $2,500 non-budgeted excluding emergencies.
I'll second it.
I'm wondering if, after all this discussion, it needs to be either defined in the full-time mayor's position somehow in that resolution, or something written that would make it easier to understand and enforce and pass along. It seems like
It doesn't, because the qualified purchasing agent has that authority, okay, ultimately. You know, that's, you read the ordinance we adopted, we amended tonight, it has that authority. Me having the administrative authority, you know, now that the governing body has put the executive administrative duties to be his full-time mayor, you don't have to define that by ordinance. I mean, like I said, the laws exist.
it wasn't really an ordinance, it was a resolution.
A resolution. Well, no, there's an ordinance creating the position.
Right.
There's an ordinance. But you don't have to define it there. Again, the laws exist in the state of New Jersey. What you spend, how you spend, and when you spend, they exist. Bloomingdale has put this cap, this limitation in. And I don't mean to make it difficult. I'm bringing it up for clarity because on the public record. You guys recall exactly what I'm talking about that Monday morning?
Yeah.
It was stated the mayor has no authority. That needs to be rectified. So that's clear. So now, there's a motion on the table, 2,500 non-budget. Is there any further discussion?
That isn't just the mayor,
No, right.
that's the individual department.
Correct.
Well,
That's the policy, spending policy. Townwide.
I wanted to make sure, because it sounded like your concern was about just the mayor, but, I mean, each individual department.
Every department who has a budget,
Right.
if they go outside their budget, they have to come and explain why.
Right.
So
But ultimately, in my new role, I'm the one
you can do the presenting, basically.
processing the purchase, approving the purchase order. So ultimately, it is my authority to decline that purchase
But
order.
if it's outside the budget, you're not going to approve that.
Correct.
You can't.
Oh, right, correct. Again, it's not, we didn't even have to bring it up. I just brought it up because it was misstated on the record.
Now, John, sorry to make this even more confusing, but our CFO, who is our QPA as well, right, who has the authority to spend up to 26,000
To approve.
to approve it, right? He's a part-time. So how does that work? Like, if there was, I guess there was 3
Well, he's part-time, but
votes needed.
he's
What-
accessible.
Accessible.
24/7.
Phones,
Phone, email, he's remotely, online, our admins,
So
our
you would be
finances.
able to get a hold of him, he can look
Yeah.
up things and
Absolutely.
and certify funds. So that's the process.
Just forget the whole thing. It's not been enforced. We haven't enforced it.
You have,
We can't spend money outside the budget anyway.
He's just bringing it to us because the checks and balances, he wants to make sure it's in place. Let's make sure it's in place and leave it as it was with the modification that if it's a budgeted item, it's going to be spent, and the 2,500, it doesn't apply to the budgeted items.
2,500 non-budget excluding
So
emergency.
it's a good clarification, let's get that
That's
out.
all I'm doing. The old way was any item, and it was just never not enforced because you couldn't operate that way. But people don't go by putting it in place. So it made no sense. Anyway, any further discussion?
Just restate the motion, please.
The motion on the table is that the borough's spending policy will be that no one can spend in excess of $2,500 if it's a non-budgeted item unless it constitutes an emergency. Now put it this way, guys. Anything over 2,500 is not the budget. I will bring to you. Period. That's not just, the price of all spending policy. That would be resolution 2012. You okay? Still with us? 2.7. There was a motion made by Yazdi, seconded by Del Ripa. Any further discussion? Thank you.
I just don't like the number on it. If it's not budgeted, why have a number on it? If it's not budgeted, it should not be spent.
Well, then you need the resolution.
Yeah, that's what I'm. If it's not budgeted,
Put it this way, in a meeting or two,
nobody should
someone...
be able to spend a dime if it's not budgeted without us knowing about it.
I can't think of a situation.
Exactly, so we're putting this for what reason?
Because, I'm clear,
Because if we don't, then
This allows somebody to spend $2,400.
the law right
Without
now
us knowing
allows
about
up to 3,900. Right, like keeping it at 2,500, we're not changing anything, status quo.
But again, answer me, why would we have a dollar figure and all? Why wouldn't it just be,
I've been saying that for 2 years.
if it's not budgeted, don't have a dollar figure on it? Budget item, go to town. If it's not budgeted, we need to know about it.
Makes sense.
I've been saying.
Penny over budget, we need to know about it.
Okay, and that's,
Or it's an emergency and no.
Right.
Right, it
Guys.
gets settled with that.
I've been saying that for 2 years. The resolution is adopted every year with the 2,500 cap. You cannot operate, but it was adopted. Wasn't enforced. You're right. You don't need any of this. But I'm just clarifying to an obnoxious point now, on the record, what, my authority, because it was not clear. And I guarantee you, in a meeting or 2 or 3, someone will be in front of this microphone saying, what is that authority? We used to limit to 2,500. And all of you need to be prepared to answer that question.
Still 2,500.
I find it easy to understand. It's not budgeted, don't spend it.
The
Always-
motion needs to be, if it's not a budgeted item, it cannot be spent without the council approval.
So you want to rescind your motion, you want to make a motion?
Or Ray has to be.
I did rescind your motion.
I'm sorry. So
No, rescind, it's your mic, rescind your motion.
I'll rescind my
Okay.
motion.
All right, here's what we're going to do.
Rich, rescind your second?
I'll rescind that. All right, we're going to move it, Resolution 2013 2.7. Simply, the spending policy of the Borough of Bloomingdale is any item that is not budgeted cannot be spent without the authorization of the governing body. Okay? Much simple. Much simple.
It doesn't work.
If you don't have it, don't spend it.
Correct. But when the question is asked later on, and it will be, where's the old rule? You all need to be prepared to address it. That's what the authority is. Yazzie made the motion, seconded by Mike, or Rich again, give it to Rich.
No, actually, Mike made
This
this.
is Mike's motion.
Mike's motion,
Mike's motion.
seconded by,
I'll second
You started this.
Now, this is for what?
Resolution 2013 2.7.
We're still sticking with 2.7.
Borough Bloomingdale spending policy simply is that no one, it's not, if an item is not budgeted, it cannot be spent without coming to the governing body. Boy, I feel so much better.
it. And actually, we made it, I think, strict.
That's fine. I agree.
That we have full control.
But is everyone in agreement the old way just made no sense either?
Well, especially since it wasn't affordable.
Well, that's,
It was
Oh,
all enforced,
separate
it was
one.
all, yeah. It was all-
okay, that was a wonderful process.
Did we vote?
You know,
No, I'm kidding, I know, you're, just let Terry catch up.
Okay.
And now a roll call. Any more paper?
Sandemeyer,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Del Rippe,
Yes.
Shortman. Yes.
Again.
Next item is just discuss regards to New Jersey League of Municipality Scholarship. I've chosen to sponsor the scholarship offered through the league, which I've already brought to the schools, $1,000 scholarship, one for a Bloomingdale resident, junior or senior, one for a Butler. When the applications come in, I'll form a committee, which will be myself, one council person, and one volunteer throughout the community that they require. To review these, we'll pick one finalist from each town. That'll then go to the state finalist, and we'll do a presentation when the time occurs. It's $1,000. It's about, they have to write an essay on what your governing body does best. So, should be interesting.
Why Butler?
Certainly not the
I can
big
understand
spending
Butler High
policy.
School,
That
a
was
Butler
gonna be
High School Bloomingdale resident.
Excuse me?
Why Butler?
Well, because I brought it to the Butler mayor. Every mayor in New Jersey gets this email, gets this package.
Right.
Not every mayor takes the initiative to bring it to the schools. I did a phone call to Butler's mayor saying, I'm just going to lead this, and they'll have their own committee for their Butler student. And we'll have our committee for our Bloomingdale student.
So it could be K through 12 students?
No, it's college scholarship, junior or senior
Oh,
high
it's
school
just-
student.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just bring it to your attention, so you know that. Okay, discussion and hopefully authorization and purchase of a new mason dump. We, zone. I spoke with most council people, persons on this issue. We have a 1997 mason dump that is mostly out of commission. Floor has been rotted, floor has been replaced, it just needs to go. And we have a certification of funds from an old bond, which has $110,000 in it, and we're looking to authorize $73,000 for the purchase of this Dodge 5500 mason dump. We did a ton of research through our mechanics. State contract offers Fords. Our mechanics, in our respect their opinion, would rather have a Dodge due to the body style, the steel body, less corrosion, etc. We joined at no cost the Somerset County Co-op to access this pricing. When the price came in at $73,000, I did ask the mechanics to go further and price private dealers as though we were bidding the project. Your choices are state contract, co-op, or go public bid. And that price came in approximately $8,000 more. So the co-op is the best price. In comparison to state contract on a Ford, the Ford is about $1,200 less. But again, I'm respecting the opinion of our mechanics on the Dodge. Again, we have certification of funds. We have the dire proven need of the vehicle. We will then, auction the old one off just to get rid of it. We're authorizing, have an authorization on 2 sets of funds from the same bond ordinance because it's once to the dealer, once to the body company. $51,369 is the cost of the truck. $21,904 is the cost of the body and the snow plow and all the bells and whistles. 2013 Ram 5500 through the Somerset County Co-op. Again, the advantage of this is one to replace a vehicle that has to be replaced. This goes back to doing a 10-year plan, so we don't have exactly the situation. We're fortunate we have this bond in place from 2000 when they bought the garbage truck, that long ago, to do this. But this is why we need a plan, so we can fund and plan for these things over a 10-year period.
That body can be used in another vehicle in the future because it's stainless.
Correct. Right, it's a stainless body, so it's going to last, much longer. The other thing is, too, the type of salter that will be on the truck allows it to remain in dump service even with the salter on. All of our vehicles, particularly our largest dump truck, once the salter's on, it's pretty much out of commission in the service of the dump truck, unless our mechanics physically remove, which is not an easy process, removing these, especially on the large truck, the salter each time. This will allow us to continue the dump service, which will allow us to do our own stone pickup, our stone for water main breaks, and potential savings there on the delivery costs we pay in the winter for water main breaks. So there's added functions there. I know I spoke to pretty much everyone. Linda, I didn't really have an opportunity to speak to you about it, but everyone else I did briefly we did.
What year was it? What model?
It's a 2013 Ram 5500 ST 4x4. Again, including
The one we're replacing is what year?
the one replaced in 1997. That is literally rotted.
That's the one we had to weld the seat back in.
Weld the seat back in it. Yep. And again, I have certification of funds from our treasurer being able to fund it. So I'm looking for authorization to move along and authorize our DPW to purchase this truck, body, plow, and salt spreader. So is someone willing to make that motion?
So moved.
We don't have a second. Second. Is there any further discussion?
I mean, this is what we pay our taxes for, right? To have our roads safe, to have our, protection, police protection, and, amongst lots of other things that these, the garbage being picked up and things of that sort. You have to have the vehicles to get that job done. So this is the sort of spending that absolutely makes sense, and we have to do. And to your point, we need to come up with a plan, so we're not going out and borrowing money on an emergency basis to do these types of things. Thank God we have that bond ordinance out there, which is money already borrowed, and we're paying interest on. So, again, it's not going to cost us anything, but it's out there.
It's a part of doing business. No one wants these kind of expenses. but it's a part of doing business, and it's a part of neglecting the fleet. So, yeah, it needs to fix. The next thing coming before you is going to be, one of our utility vehicles is rotting out, and our backhoe. Our backhoe's a big nut.
Yep.
But if we properly replace our backhoe, if we can find the funding, we're not going to talk about that till the budget struck, funding there, we can eliminate conservatively $12,000 to $18,000 in our utility budget on subcontracted work. If we get the backhoe, do our own digging, do our own, things we can't do because we're limited on the equipment.
That's per year,
Right here.
so it pays for it.
Well, backhoe's $97,000, but
Understood, but it pays for
yeah, in 8 years it pays for it.
it. How long is
You're replacing
backhoe
it.
and how long does this last?
You
That's
see
what
the
it lasts
numbers,
for
you see
15
the
years.
numbers. We spent last year $6,000 just delivering stone from an outside source because we didn't have the truck to even deliver stone.
So there's something
This
that
dump
pays for it.
alone pays, that'll be eliminated. Okay? I'm saying, we'll come back, I'm gonna come back to you this year with the second pickup truck, which can be funded out of the remaining bond here, but I need more information on it. That would be for sewer and water. And a backhoe. The backhoe, I mean, Mark, you probably know better than I how shot our backhoe is. I mean, it's right?
Well, we need to come up with that plan.
So these are things we'll be dealing with. But on the table now is the purchase of this. So we have a motion. Any further discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Yazdi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Purchase the 2013 Dodge 5500. Okay. Next motion. Okay, item K, discussion in regards to posting bill lists online after approved, and what should have been added there is also transparency in salary and wages. First, we'll talk about the transparency. Councilwoman Shortman has been asking for quite some time, and it is a matter of getting this developed, and I mean, I'm fine with personally what Councilwoman Shortman wants to do. I think we could do it with the salary ordinance, but Councilwoman Shortman's leaning towards, Ponton Lakes has it, a transparency where every single job in town and their salary, not by name, by position, is identified. Okay? So it's a bit of work to develop. You know, Sherry really has to be willing to do this, because we're not going to include in their overtime, we'll include base pay, longevity, wherever that employee's at today. All right? It's on for discussion. I mean, my position was to create the transparency link on the website and just link it to the salary ordinance to give the range. Because it's done once versus, and again, it's up to the governing body. Councilwoman Shortman's proposing is that it's line by line each person's salary. And that just would have to be changed. These positions, not naming the person, same thing. And then each year that would have to be amended. This would have to be done every year. The salary ordinance gives the range. Patrolman, 28,000 to 54,000, whatever the range is. That's one way to do it. And from still transparency, still identifying, and then Councilwoman Shortman prefers listing position and exact dollar amount. John? It's a pleasure of the governing body.
I don't think our salary ordinance is currently on our website.
It is.
It is?
It's actually, it's in the code section, and then I had it put on separately.
Oh, you put it separately?
Okay. Trying to
Towns
accommodate
actually
this.
have a site that you choose, it says
Right, I mean,
transparency.
it's public information, it's not a matter of not being able to do it, it's a matter of,
More and more, you're going to be required to put more and more on. I believe right now, our financial statements have to be on by law. And when you start looking at other towns' websites, it makes a lot of sense. The more information, and it really isn't hard to do it. What's worse is when people have to come here and Oprah things. As more and more things are put on the website, it would make the Oprah request far easier. And I think, I don't think it's very long if you look at, I had copies of Pompton Lakes. It just makes sense to me to put it on. People have a right to know. The law is heading in that direction. John was reading something that was even more detailed and more incredible for minutes for committees and subcommittees and everything you meet should be on. But I started this because of looking at other websites, but also because if you familiarize yourself with the best practices checklist that we're required to do each year, and when you look through it and you see, I gave you copies, you know, I don't think we have to make decisions tonight, but I think we should move in this direction, because as I went through the best practices checklist, there are the items that I gave you are the things that we had to answer no to. And I think as I went over them with John, I think we should be doing these things. I think it's so important when you're elected not to sit around wondering what's happening for 6 months or a year. A learning curve, I think, going, and I know that some of you have already done it, taken workshops. I think the league convention is wonderful for, wow, learning tons and meeting other people in government. And I think that's what we answered no to. We should require our elected officials to do some kind of workshop or something to, you know, bring them up to speed on what's happening. The one about there's one about surplus here. There's one, a multi-year capital plan, which I think is difficult, but would be a good goal to do. To the public, free of charge, through an internet posting, on-site review of documents that show current salaries of all personnel and additional documents. That's part of best practices for New Jersey. And we wrote on that pending, because I think 6 months ago we passed a resolution to do it, but you know, it isn't done. We had a lot of employee problems all last year, so maybe that's why. So I think that it would be a good idea to work toward these goals, because I think it would really benefit us, and I think it's a good thing. And I don't think the salary ordinance is enough, and I don't think it's really that difficult to come up with it and to put financial, and for everything we have online, it's just scanning it and posting it on a website.
So we'll wrap this up. Council, I don't need a formal vote. Council in favor of posting, as Councilwoman Shortman desires, the actual position and current actual salary. Everyone's good with that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have this, but Sherry says it is a bit cumbersome, so I'll have that done by the 15th of the month. Okay. And then the other item, which did you address? I apologize, I stepped out. The posting of bills online.
No, I didn't. But I think the more information, I don't know, I think it's great to post everything that you can online. And I know, I believe it's Riverdale who posts their bills when I went on their website. I just think going on other towns, I mean, you just make it so easy for the public, and that's what transparency is all about. I know one story our freeholder told us was they actually live broadcast their council meetings, and he said there are literally times that people watching at home put their coats on and run in when there's something discussed they're interested in. So that's all benefits the public, and it makes it so much more open and easier, and I think it's all a good thing.
Absolutely. Okay, but the issue on the bills list is, it's not a public document until the bills are paid. So you'll be putting on the bills list after, after they're paid. Okay. Right. Number one. It is approximately a 40-page document that would have to be put on monthly on the website. I mean, that's up to the governing body.
How time consuming is that though, with just scanning it?
This guy's uploading, you gotta upload it. Maybe you can speak better to that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, my thoughts would be, if we wanted to pursue that, would be to make that maybe parts of the minutes links. Because you post the minutes for the meeting, as part of the meeting minutes, you could also attach the bills list, which is, I mean, I don't know how we produce that, because we get a printout of something.
Sure, you're trying to produce it.
Right, I know, but I don't know what software is producing it, whether it can print to a PDF that can then just be uploaded or something like that. I know.
So that,
obviously, it has to be scanned manually. That's a more labor-intensive process than just printing out another copy into PDF format and uploading
okay,
it.
then why don't we do this? The posting salaries are all in agreement with, I'll get that done. The posting of bills list, I'll do more research on, to Rich's point. The format, can it be done, can it be downloaded, the process, because it would be Jane and Sherry doing it. and then we'll revisit that and see if it makes
Thank
sense to do. Regarding the other items you mentioned, just for my response, because these are best practice items, again, for the record, our best practice, we achieve, a score that gives us our maximum state aid. So we're not in any way, can you do better? Sure. Will it increase our state aid? No, we're already matched there. So, but the more, the better, obviously. To the points Councilwoman raises, do we require our elected officials to attend seminars? We don't require it, but we do it. We have the online course, Saturday we have our ethics course. You gentlemen went to another ethics course last weekend. To require it, we can amend our bylaws. I don't think you make a code, we amend our bylaws. That's how you achieve that, if that's a desire.
I think that it's such a good idea because it's on the best practice list. Obviously, it's a good thing to do. If you join the planning board, you have to attend a god-awful 5-hour horror of a course. You have to do it when you're volunteering there. You're not actually getting paid here. I just think that
The course that we just took, that we went down to, took us pretty much soup to nuts.
All day.
All day long course, and
went on the 26th.
yeah, it was the 26th. It was really informative. The whole thing was done really well.
Okay, but the issue is requiring it, so.
But the best practices was one of the topics. And the best practices, I think it's going to get straight. Because they're looking at everything to make you do things.
Right.
To get your money.
I agree with Linda 100% that it should be required. You should go, learn, understand it, and go a second year, because once you sat there for a year, you appreciate what they're saying up there
And you
a
understand,
lot more, and you
more.
understand it
You
more.
understand?
And is it a Saturday being taken away from you? Yeah, but when you sign up for this job, you go do those things.
I'm glad to hear that was good. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
didn't say
so
that.
here's what Tracy, I'd ask you to, and I'm all for it too, but how do you make it a requirement?
How do you enforce
How do
it?
you enforce it?
You just do it,
Come on.
people. I
But
think
we're
that-
just doing it anyway.
Let's,
I want you to answer yes on that. What do we have to do to answer yes?
Make it part of your bylaws as a requirement. Well, the reality of enforcing it.
right, I know from the
See
board,
the legality of that, and
I'm sorry.
bylaws. But the other one, I'm sorry, you have something on that one?
yeah, I was going to say from the Board of Ed standpoint, they actually have this whole, there's one course you have to take the first year and the second year and the third year. And the first year, every time you get reelected, you have to take another one, but they have actual state statute that says if you don't take one, you're kicked out.
Right.
So,
But they don't for governing bonds, right?
right, no, I'm just saying that gets to your point, if it's in the bylaws, there's nothing in state statute that would be enforcing what we're doing, so obviously,
We can put in our bylaws as a requirement for our bylaws. The other item, just real quickly, you have CFO should analyze, explain at least 5-year trend of surplus, illustrating facts, causing annual increases or decreases. Absolutely. This I will get put in place. This was a paramount part of Moody's presentation, was doing surplus analysis. So that one, Linda, will be done. The other item that you wanted to address was a multi-year capital plan. We're doing that with vehicles, roads, infrastructure, et cetera. So that will be answered yes this year. Item 37, the municipality take free of charge online documents, salaries. Again, we authorize that tonight. We'll be doing that. Workers' comp law, we already comply with that. That the employees entitled to wage continuation equals 70%. We don't exceed that. New Jersey requirement. And then the last item you wanted to bring up was, has your municipality adopted an ordinance, resolution, regulation, or policy eliminating longevity bonuses or payments for non-union employees? We have not adopted an ordinance. A lot of that ties to what other contracts follow per our policy handbook. So we can't adopt an ordinance until you address the policy handbook. And that's something we'll be discussing,
Policy, yeah.
just to address your concerns. But they're on the forefront, and what we authorize this evening, I will get done. Okay? And I'll get back to you on the posting of the bills. Adoption Resolution 2013 2.8. We're emergency contract for water and main repair on First Street. Again, our guys did it in-house. We did still have Barrett there. He is the plumber. cost of $1,500. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Gasky.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item M, adoption resolution 2013-2.9, emergency contract for sewer lateral on 176 Rafkin Road, 3490. Need a motion, please. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, both these numbers, this includes material and, are we buying material separately? Is this just his labor, these numbers?
This would be emergency sewer lateral repair, or this is soup to nuts.
Everything.
John, what happened?
Sorry?
Did it rot
Yes,
out?
it collapsed, lateral collapsed. Sewer, wasn't backup. Backup to the resident, those are lateral on the road.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Gasky.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Adoption resolution 2013-2.10, transfer resolution. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Could you explain where it's coming from?
Yes, well, they were doing a transfer out of police-wide salary and wages into salary and wage adjustment. Now, if you prefer the detail in this, I'd rather go into executive. So prefer to hold voting on this till after executive, that's perfectly fine. I just need to, I think it needs to be executive to talk about this and then we'll come back out. Okay, it's just a transfer of salary and wages. Okay?
I'll amend my motion
Okay,
after.
so that'll be tabled till after executive session, and action may be taken. Adoption of resolution 2013-2.11, just authorize the agreement I mentioned earlier with Somerset County Cooperative Pricing. Normally, a co-op membership is $1,500. This has been waived for 2013 for this new Somerset County co-op. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Gasky.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the last item is adoption of resolution 2013-2.12, approval of interlocal service agreement with West Essex Regional School District. As you know, we did one last meeting with Livingston. This is just authorizing our construction code official to do plan reviews for that Board of Education. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Hey, how much is this one bringing us? What does it bring us in?
No, we do get a fee. I mean, Dan gets a fee for his time, we get a fee for our lending Dan to them. West Essex shall pay an amount equal to 20% of permit fees authorized by the UCC code. So Dan's review all depends on the ultimate amount of permits pulled on that project,
Okay,
and we get 20% of that. So I don't have an exact dollar amount.
it's a freebie for us.
Yeah, it's just interlocal.
That's it.
An offset of our operating expense. Any further? Roll call?
Shortman.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Gasky.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes. Thank you. Need a motion to go to late public comment?
So moved.
Second? Second. Anyone wishing to speak to any item your little heart desires? Please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one? Do I have a motion to close?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we will have a late executive session, which includes four matters of negotiation. Action may be taken upon returning to the open session. Need a motion to go into executive?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Take a 5-minute recess.
Well, we go through a motion, if there's discussion, right?
Okay. Okay.
Do we say we're coming out of executive?
Yeah, we're out of executive session at 10:24. What I do need is,
First, we're going to transfer this money?
yeah. Who prepared this again? Way too much stuff.
Which item do we?
12N. Thank you. 12N. Okay, I need a motion to adopt resolution 2013 2.10. It's a transfer resolution. Do I have that motion?
So move.
Second.
It's 213
And we tabled it at 10.
Oh.
213 2.10. Any discussion on the transfer? I'm sorry,
Take 16,000
No,
out.
our motion, D'Amato.
D'Amato. And the roll call?
All right, so
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes.
Shortman? Yes.
And then I should probably step down.
Doesn't matter where your signature. It's on, yeah.
Taking action, you call for a motion for Joe.
John's next one.
Yes. All right, this discussion on the retroactive, what do we call it, salary for the position that now full-time mayor is holding and held the position since November. So we would like to go back to December 1st. What we call this? Can I ask you, what we call this type? Since we're not... We want to issue a stipend to John in the amount of $4,000 for the work that he did in December. Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, the salary is $7,000 per month, and because it's not salary that we're paying, we're going to get a stipend for the month and a half that he's sat in that office since Ted left. So, to thank John for all the work he did, well, you know, covering that position. That's the stuff.
Anybody else? Roll call. We don't need to go to open right now.
Sondemire,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes.
Shortman? Yes.
Yeah, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we, were we supposed to discuss this, this, we're going